for the first few years, you're trying to find your target market.
Yeah.
And what problem do you really solve? But we knew we could fix people and teams. Right, that was really what it was. If you're a growing company and you're trying to scale, people become the biggest challenge. It's how do you organise yourself with people to do that? So we were coaching them and consulting them through that process.
And even, as you say, that is really important. That process, again, of colliding with the world a little bit as a coach and figuring out what is the problem that you solve. Welcome to the Coach Business School podcast. My name's Andy Ramage. I'm the founder of the Coach Business School. I'll be your coach, your trainer, your guide on this impactful conversation with an incredible coach, Danny Wicks, who's been at the elite level in terms of coaching for well over a decade now, coaching CEOs to transform their business, their minds. But more importantly, something's happened to Danny just recently that's made him completely rethink his approach to coaching. That's what we're going to find out today in our conversation. And I'd love for you to come and join us. And don't forget, before you do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy these conversations, check out the coachbusiness.school. Come and train with me. This is where I train the next wave of elite level coaches on our diploma accreditation courses, as well as those existing coaches in the skills of marketing and business to help them create the coaching business of their dreams on my Coach MBA. Check out coachbusiness.school. The links are in the notes below. All right, let's do this. Danny, welcome.
Thank you.
To the Shomra.
Thank you.
The home, the house. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing. Finally, face-to-face time.
Yeah. And this is our little professional setup that clearly I've mastered.
Yeah.
All morning.
To be honest, I'm very impressed. They're very impressed.
It feels nicer, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Being like at someone's home. And I remember from my first couple of really good podcasts that I really enjoyed was Rongan Chatterjee, Rich Roll. Both of them recorded it in their homes.
Right, okay.
And it was so nice to just meet them, have a cup of coffee, and then ease your way into the conversation. And then, funny enough, Rich then has got this massive podcast now, and it's recorded in this big studio, and there's lights, and there's lots of people milling around. And actually, it took me about 15 minutes of that podcast to even catch my breath.
Oh, really?
You know, your heart.
Yeah.
In your chest, you're like, I couldn't relax into it. It took me a longer while, and I think actually just coming into someone's house and having a chat just creates better conversations.
Just makes it natural, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it feels natural anyway, being here.
So we're catching up on the back of our retreat.
Yes.
When we first met, we'd never met.
Yeah.
You decided to take a gamble and come away with us on retreat.
Yeah.
And I was so thrilled that you did. Most of the people that I knew, you were one of the few that I didn't really know in advance of going. I know we've got lots of shared connections and friends, as it were. And I do want to say to you personally and publicly, you were absolutely brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
You helped make the retreat for me. It was such a gift to have you there, making such a massive contribution that you did. Like always engaging with people, bringing others into the conversation, connecting in the smaller groups, the bigger group. You were just a huge personality on the retreat. That it was one of the real nice bonuses. We'd not met before, so I didn't really know too much about you. But so thank you first and foremost.
No, it was you created the environment. I think the environment was there and people felt comfortable that they could just go with it, and I just went with it. There was no kind of like I didn't know what to expect. There was no preconceived kind of like, oh, it's going to be this. I was like, do you know what? I need some time out. And it was just the perfect moment to go there and connect with people, listen to other people's stories. And the best thing is no ego. There's no ego there at all. And I think that was great because there was no one person that felt they were different to anyone else. It was like everyone's story was different, everyone's background was different, and I found it was very humbling being around everyone and inspiring because everyone's got a different story. So I just kind of went with it, I think you know me enough by now. In the short time, it's like I kind of just give me the rope and I'll go in and get involved. Yeah, and you did brilliantly, and I think that's what was nice about it. I was thinking, why did it work so well? And I've been on lots of business type let's say retreats, but trainings, and it keeps it very businessy. And if you're not in the right part of the business, or you haven't had as much success, inverted commas, as someone else, sometimes it's difficult to contribute, or you feel like I can't contribute. Whereas the subject matter
of the retreat, which was just about meaning and purpose and life and adventure, everyone had something to share and contribute. It was a real leveler in that sense. And I think that brought everyone together in a way that I could not have, even dreamt of it going that well. The connection went so deep so quickly. There was no small talk. It was just big talk for 3 days.
I think everyone opened up
and
allowed themselves to kind of go, do you know what, I'm here now. Let's just let it all on the table. And I think everyone in their own way kind of laid it on the table and used it as an opportunity to go, actually, I'm really here and I can make some really big decisions, but in a safe space with people that also are making big decisions themselves. And it wasn't like I didn't go on the retreat to come away with I didn't have an agenda. I didn't have this kind of like, I want to get this out of it. It was like, I just know there's something that I need to work on right now, and this is the right space and the right environment that I feel that I might get something for it. And I think the beauty is when you switch your brain into, I don't need the answer, I can be curious, I think it becomes much more impactful for you. But I think you really wrestle with trying to get to the answer, or what's the end going to look like. But actually having the curiosity to go there and go, I don't know. And then it comes. It just arrives when you don't think of it, and allowing something to arrive, which it did for me in a number of ways, was brilliant.
Yeah, and I think that is the right mindset, isn't it? That curiosity of just, let's see what comes up, over a few days. And I think that was the magic of it, having the space away from obvious emails and meetings and beautiful location, brilliant people. It just, everything, the stars aligned, didn't they, in a way that was really joyous for me. One of the best experiences I've ever had, in the 12 years of being involved in different types of trainings and whatnot. Because I felt fully part of it as well, even though I was creating a bit of structure, the sort of the loose structure to it. The best stuff was happening, which I kept joking, which was true.
When you weren't around,
when I wasn't in the room.
Yeah, but that's the sign of you look back to was it the old NBA's, the Last Dance, and you look at the coach of the Red Bulls, he just kind of created the environment, allowed them to go, didn't you? And I think that when you create the environment, actually, you've just allowed people that space, and to step out. I think it's when you force it, it becomes too much, because I think sometimes the natural thing is, I need to give more, I need to say more, but actually sometimes saying less is more in those. And I think you played it really very well over the 4 or 5 days we was there, knowing how to structure it, knowing not to structure it a certain way, giving people the best bit was the space. And I think when you go on retreats, or everyone wants the answers and everyone wants a textbook, and sometimes the beauty isn't in that. The beauty is the 5 people sitting around a table that have an hour to kind of self-coach themselves. And by coaching someone else, you ultimately kind of relaying the message back to yourself. But that, again, is a difficult thing for people to understand, is that process is so great in just allowing people the space to have a conversation. I found the conversations I was having with people, the coaching I was getting through even me having conversation with someone, but just someone might say something, I go, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. I hadn't thought of something like that. And it's just a moment, and then you go, right, I need to just kind of sit with that. And it was brilliant.
And that was the bit that took a bit of courage, and I think I said that to you, that it wasn't chock-a-block full of things to do, which traditionally retreats are, and these type of things. There's a sense that we've got to keep busy all the time, whereas actually it was like, no, I want to try and give people a big chunk of time to do nothing, to actually let some of the learning sink in. And actually I think that was part of the secret sauce.
It worked, apart from the storm.
We won't mention the storm.
Well, that was fine.
We survived the storm.
We survived the storm.
Like one of Ibiza's maddest storms. I mean, that, in all seriousness, if you'd planned a retreat and you'd put on your little list, like, what are the things that could go wrong that you would really not like to go wrong, it sort of happened.
That was it. That night, the night from hell. I'll never remember the night from hell. But again, I think you mentioned it that day, the next day, everyone kind of accepted it and embraced the challenge of that night. But it was brilliant, because then after that, the sun came out and we had 4 amazing days.
And then, so what are some of your takeaways from the retreat? In a moment, we're going to go back and get your sort of lead story into coaching, but just while we're talking.
I guess so going there in the first place, there's a lot of change that's gone on in my life personally. So I was grappling with some big decisions, going through, a marriage separation, lots of change going on. So I just knew I needed to do some work on myself. Obviously, been on retreats, been involved in coaching and all that stuff before, but I just needed somewhere to go and kind of just let me be me. I guess the other bit was the complete alcohol-free element was very important.
Yeah.
So I needed to go somewhere where I could not be tempted to drink, and not be tempted by the anyone go, oh, should we go and do this? It was like, no, I'm making a commitment to do a week away, alcohol-free. That's it. And in getting there, I didn't know the problem that I was going to try and work on or solve. But what I realised, and without giving the retreat away, is I think a lot of people naturally go into, oh, I'm going to go and create a goal, and then what I'm going to do is write down a plan to get to a goal. And that was kind of my natural thinking. What started to happen very quickly was me realising that this isn't about that. This is about self-worth. This is about self-love. This is about who you actually are as a whole person. And that dawned on me day one afternoon event that you ran, without going into it. That is probably one of the most transformative moments, was that meditational element that we went through.
Yeah.
And the realization of, oh wow, there's something else here. So roll it forward a few days, it was more validating that kind of self-worth. And I think for me, coming away from it, it was one, I was meant to be on that retreat. There's the spiritual energy and vibration. It was like that arrived at the point, bearing in mind, I only signed up for 3-4 weeks before. It was a last minute job. Your email appeared in. I'm like, oh wow, I never look at any of those emails. It was like, hold on a minute, this is the thing. So it was like, I was in a dark place at that point, and going there, I was meant to be there. I think I said at the time, I found like my heart at that moment, and the ability to be unapologetically myself. Because I think a lot of, going back a long way, a lot of your life is about proving people and, you know, kind of, I guess, people pleasing and trying to be someone to appease other people, saying yes a lot. And I think you realise that once you've kind of realised who you really are, and in your heart you're comfortable with that, no matter what people think, that's liberating and freedom. So for me, I got that feeling of my heart back, but feeling of like liberation and unwavering strength to cope with anything. I don't know how, but they're kind of, for me coming back from that, it's like, what will people be? So real certainty around that. And then the other final bit was, I think I said it was, when you find your tribe, you find your vibe. And that was the connection. That was the community. That was the people. That was the environment that you created, that actually there are people that you connect with at a deep level where you feel like you can say anything and anyone. And again, that whole retreat has inspired me going forward with things in my business. You know, you as the catalyst and what you created for a whole heap of changes that I've made since. But I never went there to solve a business problem. I didn't have a business problem to solve. But off the back of it, it kind of, that's why you got to go with curiosity, because off the back of it, a whole heap of things have changed for me since then. And again, thank you to you and the whole team that was there, who we're all still in contact with as well on a daily basis.
I see it. I see the messages coming through.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Brilliant. I know one of, I think it was Matt Harty, posting there recently, I'm doing this at the moment, and then I got sorry.
Then it just goes like, you know, but everyone's sharing their wins. You share your wins, you share your thoughts. It's an open space. Everyone shares that their alcohol-free journey. Like, it's brilliant. No judgment. I love it.
That's the key bit to it. And in my own way of doing things, this is part of that. This is me and you getting to hang out together today, which I love. This is joyous for me. Do you know what I mean? Getting in a room, us building our friendship and relationship in person. At home, and these are the changes that I'm bringing into what I do, to do a lot more of this, to slow things down a little bit. I even said to you, we took a little Instax photo of you before the podcast to go on the wall, so I can see everyone that's visited the show and connect with that on a daily basis, and think, do you know what, there's been that human connection between smaller. I think it's so important in this AI sort of world that we're about to step into. I think we were talking about this off air, that I think people are going to double back down on in-person connection in a way that maybe they've never appreciated before, because of the way that the world's going at the moment.
And I think it links into meaning and purpose and impact. So my thinking is, yes, the world's going to change, but you can still have an impact. You can still make a difference. You can still be that person, like you're doing, connecting with me, and then we connect, and then we don't know what impact then this can have to anyone that listens to us. You hope you hope via this podcast, even if one person takes something away from it, it makes a difference. That's impact.
Yeah.
And I think when impact becomes a bigger priority, I think everything else shifts. The monetary element kind of is a byproduct of impact. It's not about, oh, can I scale this to get to here? It's like, actually, if I create great relationships, great connections, and have a great impact, then my purpose and my meaning works. Yeah, it ticks that box for me. And that's what I've learned from you. But I think in having these conversations and connect with people abroad, no phones, no digital, no email, no social media, it's like you can survive.
Yeah, and thrive.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
That's where we're both going, and I feel so lucky that we're in a similar space in the sense of coaching, and so we're into this, right? We're into the self-development, we're into all of this. But wind the clock back a little bit.
Okay.
How did you get into this? What brought you to it? No one's like born a coach as such.
Yeah.
Something has to happen. So what's that story?
So I guess come from a bit of a sporting background. So my background was always going to be in sport, in football, in sports. Didn't pan out that way. But it was like, I've always been into the sporting, athletic training. So that was always like a foundation of mine, was football and training. And I think I fell into the corporate world coming out of football and rose the corporate ladder, in investment banking pretty quickly without a degree, with 4 GCSEs to my name. And I kind of failed football, if you know what I mean. But I managed to navigate it. But I was always quite sharp, but I just didn't, know where I was going to go, because my life was, the trajectory, probably like yourself, was going to be that way into the game, and I'll stay in the game. Didn't take that route. Ended up in investment banking, in trading, a bit like yourself, on a trading floor. And it was the apprenticeship of apprenticeships, right? 18, 19 years old, early 2000s. It was, the world was dot-com era, a bit like the AI era, and it was trading. I was on Deutsche Bank trading floor. It was brilliant, but I had to kind of get up in the morning, read the morning news, do the overnight economic numbers, and stand up in front of 40 traders on a desk and go, right, this is the information. And if I got it wrong, it'd be pelters. You'd have to memorize the breakfast, so you'd go out and memorize 30 people's breakfast. You weren't allowed to write it down. If you got it wrong, I'd get a sandwich on the back of my head. I remember it like it was yesterday. Yeah. So I kind of fell into banking, and then I moved into like mergers and acquisitions, come out of the trading world once the dot-com bubble burst, got into mergers and acquisitions, and then found myself over at RBS. And in RBS, at that time, RBS was growing, it was rapid, it was Fred the Shreds kind of trajectory, £1 trillion balance sheet, and I navigated that well and was responsible for some of the big mergers and acquisitions in terms of integrating businesses. At the same time, at that point, 2005, young children, my son comes along, get married, son comes along, 2008, daughter comes along, and I've got, like a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old and a newborn. And I started to really chase the money. I was very much into how far higher can I go, and I was driven by, I'm a provider. In my head, if I look back now, early 30s, late 20s, I'm a provider. That's what I've got to do. I've got to work. And that was always to probably prove to the people that told me I couldn't make it as a footballer, right? It was like, I've got to now prove myself. Yeah. I did that and ended up rolling into, when RBS collapsed, post RBS collapse, I went off and set up a consultancy on my own. And I got a phone call saying, do you want to come back and work as part of the restructure of selling off all of these businesses? So I went back and had the most unbelievable role where I was traveling the world and I was just selling companies, restructuring them. RBS owned so many businesses that people wouldn't know, but it was great. And I was like on this trajectory, but I was also partying hard whilst traveling. I was drinking a lot. It was like, what's going on here? And I was away from home. I was detached from home. So the kids were starting to grow up, but dad wasn't around. And I found myself starting to get a little bit anxious and a little bit, sort of, God, I don't know what's going on there. I'm starting to struggle mentally. Yeah. And it was tough. It was real tough because I was like, had to have this facade in the corporate space of like, I'm traveling the world doing well. You'd go out, you'd finish your day, you'd 6 or 7 pints, and then you'd go again. Like that was the world. And it became monotonous and hard. And I found myself becoming more and more detached from home. Then anxiety really started to kick in, and I found it really difficult to deal with, to the extent that I went and got therapy. I went into therapy. And I loved the process of therapy. I found it very nice. I found myself working on myself. There was CBT, I had a psychiatrist, and I was CBT specialist, I think it was. And it was like deep work on myself. Really enjoyed that. And I thought, coming out of that and navigating, I really enjoyed that process.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I've always been a people person, so I thought, do you know what? What can I do? And one of my friends, who you may know, Jeff Brazier, at the time was doing coaching. He was trained as a coach. So I messaged him. Actually, we wasn't probably friends at the time. We was connected via a mutual friend. And I messaged him, said, look, I think I might do this. And he said, well, I'm doing this coaching program. Do you fancy getting involved in it? Connected me with it. And I thought, and the words he said to me, I remember him saying, once you learn to coach, the first thing you learn to do is to coach yourself.
Exactly, your best client.
Your best client is you. And I'm like, right. So I went off and I spent, this is now probably 2013, 2014 now, 12 years ago, and went and studied and learned coaching. And I didn't know where it would take me, but I met a group of people on this cohort I was on. Can't remember even the name of the company, but it was. I travelled to Cambridge every month. We'd do a weekend in Cambridge, train, come back, and I found it so enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like just the process of helping someone else. Because if I help someone else, it kind of helps me. That was the whole thing. If I help someone else, it helps me. So that kind of just started, and I remember then I was still at RBS as a consultant. And I went up to one of the CEOs of a division and said, look, I'm doing my coaching. I need a client. Can you? She said, okay, you can coach me. And she was a CEO of a big part of the business. And I went, okay, I'll coach you. I'm thinking, oh, God, what am I going to do here?
Yeah.
And I started that. And she paid me a little bit of money on the side. It was my first ever. I didn't know where to go with it.
I just want to, and just in that bit there, because this is really important as well. A lot of people fall into that trap, I think, in the coaching world. They see the end result.
Yeah.
See you now, see me now, and think, oh, maybe you had it easy or whatnot. But they forget at some point you didn't have any clients. You were probably unbelievably nervous. And someone paid you a little bit of money and you're like,
I didn't know. Honestly, I felt, how am I going to do? How am I going to price this? How am I going to do this? I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So she was a great client. So I had an hour a week and and actually, it transformed. And she said, you're really good at this. I went, it was passionate. I just loved it.
Yeah.
And we had a coaching model that would follow, and you try and stick to it. And you're thinking, I've got to go for this. And then it was all in your head. Like you're really,
like grow
it was
model?
the grow model. You had
Yeah.
the grow model, and then you do all of the different parts of it, and you go, oh God, it's got to get the goal. Gets the goal, right? And you really start. But then you start to relax, and then it becomes quite a natural way. And she was my first. It was a big client to have, but it was like, oh, I can do it here. And that then allowed me the confidence to go, I can get another client. And and by the way, I was still in my coaching cohort. So I was putting on the coaching cohort because we'd have to get some test people. I said, I've made some money. And they were like, oh, you made money?
How you done that?
I've made some money. I said, how much you charge? I charge 150 quid. Well, you charge 150 quid? And it was like, okay, well, all right, I'll do it. And so I had to get, you've got to get your coaching hours in as part of your qualification. And I got my coaching hours in. I was like, okay, now where do I take it? Didn't know where to take it. I really didn't. I was like, okay, but I'm a consultant. I kind of solve people's problems. I kind of do the do. And I didn't know where to take it. And then what happened is I kind of rolled it forward. I thought, I'm just going to use it as a skill, as a tool.
Yeah.
So it became a tool in the armory rather than the thing that I was selling.
Yeah.
It just became, and what I found is when I was going around and in the restructuring world, I was getting people in a really good headspace, even though we was making them redundant as part of selling these businesses. It was like, I can use coaching skills here and the tools to kind of navigate what I'm going through with these businesses. And it became a real, people bought into it. And I started to talk about it a bit more, it's coaching. It's just one of many different tools that you can use. You don't have to say that's the only thing I use. I just was bringing it in. And then I started to get other internal clients within the business. They weren't paying me, but I guess I was earning my stripes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going through the apprenticeship of just, how does this work? And seeing, oh, that works. I had an impact. And then I started to really enjoy the whole coaching thing. And then I landed, that CEO went off to run a big property company. And I got the opportunity to go over there. But I was hired as a consultant, but I was kind of a pseudo exec coach for her and the CFO. I was like their sounding board. I'm thinking, now this is something to get, something's coming here. I've got something here because I've got a kind of hybrid model going on. And they just use me, and I would just be this coach, and they would go, oh, hold on a minute. And then I would just use the whole tools. And then I was there for about 12 months. And then I thought, right, what am I going to do now?
So at this point, you're not charging for this effectively.
I was purely consulting. So I was I had a consultancy business. I was going as a consultant, helping them restructure the business and realistically redo the whole business model. But as part of that, they needed someone that they could talk to that would ease their kind of challenges that they were thinking about around, I've got to deal with the chairman. How do I deal with the chairman? Or I've got to deal with the head of IT. And I was kind of found myself in this coaching role with them where they call me into the office. How would you? Yeah. And I'm coaching them. So I was just blending the skill into.
Because that's interesting that, and I think that was the same for myself. A lot of people, trained as a coach, don't really know what they're going to do. If they coach themselves, as you said brilliantly, you're always your best client. Yeah. Then start to apply it in ways you didn't even know that you were going to be applying it. And then there's the penny drop moment of, actually, I could maybe do something with this in a more official way.
And that's how I sort of then took it forward going on from that. Me and my ex-business partner, we got together 2019 and we said, right, we're going to create a business. Let's create a coaching business. We're going to focus on like the SME market. And we're going to help kind of bring the city to the suburbs, if you want to. We're going to take great corporate practices and we're going to put them into the SME world. It was with this real clear view.
SME being
small to medium sized enterprise, like the founder led businesses. But we were like quite naive in that as well. Like we got the concepts of how to sort of operationalize things, but we needed to kind of earn our stripes again. So at that time, I had to go to Madrid. I was given the opportunity to say, right, to work for a private equity firm in Madrid, which was to get this credit card bank ready for an IPO. So I was like double hatting. We had the consultancy business and I had my business, because people think you just can jump from one business out of corporate or whatever into coaching business. It doesn't work that way. I had to parallel run two things realistically to fund everything, right? You have to start.
I think that's also a real truth with coaching, and I did the same again. Ran it alongside my broking business.
Yeah.
Even though I was applying all the skills in the broking business, like you did to succeed, the coaching was where my heart and mind was going. But to get it off the ground, I stayed in the broking business to fund it effectively in those early stages.
And you can't just jump out, right? You can't make the leap. But and then what I did is I bought strategically bought my business partner of the business. I said, right, I'm going to bring you in as another consultant. They need someone else. So we'll both travel to Madrid on a Monday, back on a Thursday. And what we'll do is we'll build a business whilst we're working in Madrid, which we did. And then what happened is in August, I think it was August 2018 or 19, I can't remember what day it was. I'm all in. Right, we're all in on this business. And suddenly you realise that the pay stopped and you got to go and hump what you eat realistically.
Yeah.
And it was like, how are we going to get this going? And we'd got a few little businesses that we'd done some work for, got some testimonials. And what we was really doing is kind of, I was the coach, he was the consultant. I was more coach. So I was kind of coaching them and he was kind of more like, this is what you got to do and this is how we're going to do it. So we'd kind of built this partnership, and we've worked so well together to start with. And we were like, right, we've got an idea. Then obviously we built a couple of clients, like we've got some momentum, and then along came COVID. Right, and we're like, oh, ouch. What are we going to do here? But we managed to navigate COVID really well, and we'd built relationships with some really good clients. But you know what it's like is, for the first few years, you're trying to find your target market.
Yeah.
What problem do you really solve? But we knew we could fix people and teams. Right, that was really what it was. If you're a growing company and you're trying to scale, people become the biggest challenge. It's how do you organise yourself with people to do that? So we were coaching them and consulting them through that process.
And even, as you say, that is really important. That process, again, of colliding with the world a little bit as a coach and figuring out what is the problem that you solve.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that you can't always get that right up front. You need to take a bit of a best guess to get started and build momentum. But ultimately, you need to go and collide with clients and then you feel it out and go, actually the bit that we do solve is this.
And
then
you can't skip focus. The process, and you can't try and skip the process, but you can't. And I think there are a lot of people out there that in the coaching mentoring space of coaches that try to get people to skip the process, say, oh, you can get from here to here and really quickly without doing this. I don't believe that. In coaching coaches, I really believe you've got to allow a coach to explore the journey and learn from their mistakes and issues, because that is the path of growth.
100%.
And there's too many people out there that are selling, I can get you to 6 figures, 7 figures, 10x this, and it just doesn't. For me, it's like, that doesn't work. In my experience, in my journey, I think you've just got to kind of bumble your way through. If you've got a mentor or a coach, they can help you deal with the mindset challenge, which is the biggest hurdle when you start out a business. How do I shift my mindset to it all going wrong and just accepting it's all
overcoming all
the hurdles? So we kind of set the business. We were starting to do really well. We'd got a good client base. But what happened then in probably, I think we're talking about 3.5, 4 years ago now, was like, we both started to realise that we had different skill set. We'd built a team, we'd had an office, we'd kind of got ourselves to a really good point, but it was like, we need to kick on. But I'm not the kind of structure guy, realistically. I love structure in a business, but the way I think is, I'm a bit of a free spirit. You know, people that work for me now know it's, you know, like the whirlwind comes in.
We were talking about this earlier.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I like to kind of let things evolve, whereas my ex-business partner was very like that. But we collided well, but we also knew that there was a point in which we were going to have to go our separate ways.
Yeah.
And that point came about 3.5, I think it was 3.5, 4 years ago now, where I kind of got up one day and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It was like, we have reached the journey where it needs one of us to take the boat forward and drive the boat forward, and one of us to step away. And we both knew that this was the case, and I hit it head on. And he go, you're right. I said, so how can we make this a win-win? How can we make this a win-win? Because we get on well. Like we're reconnected again now. We get on really well.
Brilliant.
In fact, we bounce ideas off each other. I was like, how can we make this win-win? And it was like, okay, so what we're going to do is I'll take the exit out. Right? I'll take the exit out. What we'll do is you'll continue the business. I'll take the exit out. We'll move it over to you, and I will set up on my own. And it was like, and I kind of did the typical, I set up on my own, and then went, oh, I've got to do it again. I've got to do it again. I haven't got an office. So I remember sitting in like an office like this in the house and going, right, here we go again.
Yeah.
And it was like, but this time I'd had all the learnings for the first time. Yeah. So I'm like, I think I know the method.
Yeah.
And what I did was I went, I've got a consultancy background, but I'm a coaching business. And it was then about actually like, I can now do what I want to do. And within the space of probably 6 months, I'd got, you know, and I'm like, I'm going to focus on one-to-one coaching. That's it. I had a bit of consultancy work that I would do, a bit like a fractional CEO for a company.
Yeah.
Like I'd do that to kind of just elevate my position, because if you also look at, you know, like if you're a fractional CEO or you come from a corporate, you can use your elevational positions to support your coaching business. And I had a sort of a fractional CEO role, and then I was realistically then building out what I would call my coaching business. Got to probably 10 clients really quickly. And
how did you go about that? How did you go about finding those initial clients?
I'm a hunt what you eat guy, if I'm honest with you. I've been like, right, who do I know? Who have I worked with in the past? And who in my network can open doors for me? And I literally just went out and did this. And I had this conversation with someone the other day. The traditional business development work of, you know, actually, tell a lie. I actually went in, do you remember BNI?
No.
The British the Networking Institute or something.
Right.
BNI. I used to go and practice my pitch on at 6 a.m. in the morning to go, right, hi, my name's Danny. I help founders, you know, like that, do that old little 60-second pitch. I went back and sort of thought, you know, I'm going to go back to my roots. Went into this weekly networking thing to kind of re-earn my stripes. And then I came out and went, right, I'm going to go and find my clients. But what I do know is my unique selling point, a USP, is if you are a company that is at the point where the founder is wearing too many hats and has to grow and scale it, I know that that's where I kick in, really, is at that point. So I kind of went, and if you're looking at an exit, even better, because I've got the exit background, but it always wasn't predicated on that. So I went, right, that's where I'm going. And I went, right, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I built my relationships with those people, and it was referral, and that's how it came about.
So this is brilliant, because I'm continually coming back to this point. The best way to grow a coaching business is not on social media.
No.
I think that's such a red herring for so many coaches. And they're like, I hate social media. I can't bear the thought of it. I'm like, don't do it. the best opportunities are within your network, old school.
Yeah.
Get in front of people for coffees or get them on a Zoom or something.
Yeah, it's in your phone book.
Exactly.
Everyone in your phone book will know someone that needs your help.
Yeah.
And do the phone book approach. Take the old school social media. Like I'm only reactivating myself on social media now because of what the decisions I've made. Not to use it as a mechanism to go and win business. It's like I have a message that I want to get out there. I'm going to use it as a vehicle for the message. Not that's my means to generate leads and stuff. If people come for it, then okay, that's fine. But the traditional way is the traditional way.
Yeah, and you built your coaching business without social media.
I've had no social, I've had zero social media.
Brilliant.
Like that's always been, and built a successful coaching business to the point where I didn't need to do social media, but I just doubled down on, and everyone tells me that that's not the way to do it. I'm like, no, it does work. Like a guy actually messaged me on Instagram the other day, and I said, and he was changing his business. I said, just do everything the gurus do, opposite to what the gurus tell you to do.
Do you know I love this? Because this is my mantra. It's like if you find the mass of people, just turn around and go the other way.
Just do the opposite.
Always the good stuff. Yeah. And it's the same. When everyone thinks they've got to be on social media, just don't focus on social media.
Do the opposite. Just everyone says you got to do. Just go and do the opposite because they're telling you something because
Brilliant.
that sells. And it's like, he went, you're right. I said, just go and find. No one needs, let's really clear in the coaching business when you start out. You don't need a social media following. You don't need, what you just need to do is to earn the right to play the game of coaching, and everything else will come as a byproduct of that.
Brilliant.
Work on your clients. Like most of my clients are, their lifetime value for me will be 18 to 24 months. And the reason is I double down on the client. Like my customer is everything to me. Probably right, we had the conversation sometimes maybe too much in some ways.
Yeah.
But when you know what you need, you go, right, I only need, some people might need 5 clients, right? You might need 10 clients. But you don't need 25, 30. You can't cope with 25, 30 clients if you're running it one-to-one. So actually, you realistically can never do more than 10 to 15 clients. I believe probably 12 clients.
Yeah, you can't manage that in your mind. It's too much.
Like my assistant will only have 3 client meetings a day max.
Yeah. And
that is to allow myself the space for me to prepare and think and digest and just to gain some clarity, because you can't go back to back to back. It doesn't work.
Yeah, and so true, and I find that as well, and that is the key to all of this. Again, the trap that a lot of coaches fall into is thinking, I need a big social media following, or I need thousands of clients. Yeah. You only really need 1 to begin with.
Yeah.
Once you've got 1, you can rinse, refine the process, and 2, but then you really don't need, especially on a one-to-one basis, you don't need lots of clients. I think that's a myth. What you actually need is good clients. Good clients
that are the right mindset as you, and they're in the right headspace. And I know what you do is you take everyone to start with, and I think you've got to take anyone that comes your way, because it's like you don't really know who's your ideal client. You can't sit down, write it down. Work with people. Go and work with people. I know, for me, I don't work with trades. I don't work with trades businesses.
So what's that?
Like trades and construction. So I don't work with trades. And the reason being, it's not that anything. I've worked with lots of trades and construction. That for me isn't an ideal client for me, because they're a trade, and I like to work with businesses that are probably gone beyond the scale, where they're a bit more operationally intensive,
right?
Or they've got a service element to it. So for me, I'm like, do you know what? Trades aren't for me. I love trades, but do you know what? I know many people that specialise in trades. They're the people for you.
Brilliant.
But so just knowing, but I had to go through working with lots of trades to go, actually, that doesn't work for me, because I find it a little bit harder to influence the kind of decisions and changes. So actually, I prefer not to. But knowing I've got gym businesses I work with, lots of fitness businesses, actually, they're great, because they're the ideal client for someone where they're in growth mindset mode.
Yeah.
And it's great because they'll do the work, they'll test themselves, they'll challenge themselves, which is brilliant. So, but I only knew that through working with different industries, colliding with them, and going. And it's no one's right or wrong. It's just know who. Like I think I've heard someone say, sometimes you have to repel the people to find out who your real people are. And I think that's what you've got to do. You've got to go through the process and kiss 100 frogs and realise that that's where you fit. And I think people obsess about niche because they're told you've got a niche down, rather than go and work with everyone and figure out where you fit.
Yeah, and that's sort of what we do. We give people I try to give people a focus because it helps build momentum.
Yeah.
But then ultimately all the best learnings in colliding with life and clients and different situations to work out what you like, what you don't like. And then, you know, again, we're both at this 12 years. There's 12 years of refinement to get to this place. And I think that's also what people have to remember, that this, and that's one of the greatest gifts of coaching. Yeah. Is that there's no reason why we won't be doing this in 30 years' time. In our 70s and 80s, why not?
We talked about Dan Sullivan, who runs Strategic Coach. I think he's now in his 80s.
He is 83 or 84.
83. Like he's still doing lifetime expander exercises, and he's like, no, I'm just getting going. Like I'm a bit like that. Why would I stop doing something like I love and can have an impact on people? In fact, like I feel like it's day one. Like I've this kind of you know, the Jeff Bezos Amazon mindset. Like every day's day one. Like let's go again and embrace the journey, embrace the carnage. It is there's the saying that I've heard before, new levels, new devils, right? Whatever phase you get at in business, whether you're running a coaching business or any business, at the next phase of growth is a whole heap of problems, and it's about now how do you navigate them and embracing them and not fearing them. I've come back weirdly, and it's a testament to the retreat that opened my heart up to things. I've looped back to probably the strapline and message that I wrote down probably God knows how many years ago, but I was too scared to own it.
Right.
I was too scared to own it because I didn't have the confidence and inner self-belief of that is what I can actually say. And now, through that retreat, and I will say the retreat and being with everyone on that retreat gave me permission to go, do you know what? It doesn't matter if people don't like it. It's what I'm about. And owning that and going, that is it. And then suddenly you go, the whole world just goes quiet. And you're like, I'm really clear now. But it's taken me 12 years, Andy, to kind of get, you know, like to get to a point where I feel confident enough myself to go, right, that's it, I can do it.
And what is that? What is that new approach?
So realistically, it was like, I've always focused on scaling, selling a business and exit, always very much on the monetary aspect of it. But what I've realized is the monetary aspect is just one component. What people really want is just to have a life they love.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, like if you sell your business, I know people that sold their business for 100 million. I actually had a long conversation this summer. He was the most unhappiest person he's been. He's going back into the industry. So the exit doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you the life you love. What it is about creating a life you love by doing, if it's an exit, if it's stepping away, if it's managing your business forever and a day, as long as it gives you a life you love. So mine now is I help founders scale with structure and create a business and life they love.
Brilliant.
And that is it.
And that little bit at the end is the most important bit, but it takes courage to own.
Because it's like, oh, I can't say that because it's a bit woo-woo. No, but that's me. I just want people to build a business and create a life they love.
That's it.
Because for me, having gone through a lot of what I've gone through in the last year, I've realised all of the mistakes I've learned is because I focused on the money aspect. I really focused on, this is what I'm a provider and it's the money. In fact, we can all roll the clock back. There's so many things I would do differently. So it's kind of like my message to myself, Danny, right? You've got to create a business and life you love as well, which is by me owning that myself, I can then own that for everyone else because it's what I'm doing. So, and it was the retreat and being around you and everyone there that gave me that moment of clarity of like, I'm comfortable now. Yeah. And that comes back to the self-worth, it comes back to the self-love, it comes back to all of those things. Because when you click that point, you can go, doesn't matter. Because some people will resonate with it. Yeah. Who doesn't want to create a business and life they love?
That's it.
That's it, right? And if I can enable that and I can help people get on that journey or I can connect people with it, then that's me. I'm happy.
Whilst you do the same.
Whilst I'm doing the same. My business, I do not want to sell my business. Yeah. As it stands right now, my business I love. I've got my son working in my business. Brilliant. I've got my nephew working in it's a family business. And my project is, I want to create opportunities for them. I want them to become unbelievable coaches themselves. So for me, mine is about the mission inside the business is about developing them and creating them an opportunity and letting them flourish. And then my client side is I don't want to stop working with clients. I don't want to be Mr. MD in the business and Now, maybe there's a point where other people will do that, but I love working with clients. My clients are everything to me. So I'm not going to stop doing that, but that allows me to create the business and life I love. And it's about impact, and how can I have a greater impact and do that for more people.
It's pretty cool though, isn't it? This skill that is coaching that allows us to live lives that we love, that has allowed you to create a business big enough to have and growing in a way to have the impact on your family members. Yeah. To look after you in a way that adds value to people's lives, that makes you feel like you do work that matters. It's cool, isn't it? I mean, I think coaching is, and that's why we both love it as a profession. It's incredible, I think, what is achievable. And I want to wind the clock back a little bit. One of the big topics in coaching, I think, is pricing.
Yes.
How did you figure that bit out? Because it's such a how long is a piece of string moment. I get asked this question all the time, and I'm really open to tell exactly how I do my pricing, but it varies so much, doesn't it? I think, and I always say to people, the same outcome has a different value to different people or different businesses. Yeah. So I think that's the bit to understand. It's like, let's just say I do a lot of work with people helping change their relationship with alcohol. Yeah. That same outcome to some person will have a value where they'll never invest in that outcome, but they still might achieve it by listening to podcasts and and maybe they'll invest £10, buy a book. The same outcome, transform your relationship with alcohol, to someone else might be worth £1,000. Yeah. To a business owner might be worth £10,000. Yeah. To a very successful business owner might be worth £50,000. It's the same outcome. The outcome has not changed. In the same way, you could order a bottle of wine, which is probably not a great analogy, but you can get a £50 bottle of wine and a £1,000 bottle of wine.
And you can buy the same wine in different shops. Yeah. With different prices.
And it probably doesn't taste that much difference. Yeah. So how did you go about solving that conundrum?
It's trial and error, if I'm honest, to start with. So I didn't know. I guess one is the mindset and belief about value you create for people. Yeah. And it takes a while to learn the value that you create. If I'm working with founders that are growing, and they're growing in themselves, but they're also creating a life they love, but they're also getting the financial benefits. If you're taking a founder's business from 2 million to 5 million, the value and investment in me is to some people will be huge amounts. But actually, to a founder that's seeing that, the amount they invest, actually, I'm willing to pay that because I'm getting the experience of someone that is going to help me navigate the journey to get there and be by my side the whole way. So it took me a long time to get to that point, and I think you've got to earn your stripes.
And that built over time, so it's moved upwards.
It's moved upwards. So it might start out at a retainer or a monthly fee of £1,000 a month, for example.
And what would that look like?
So that would be first of all, when you try, if I'm honest with you, I had to wing it so much to start with, Andy. So I was like, okay, you're going to get an hour and a half with me, or you're going to get 2 hours with me, and I'm thinking, because I had the time for money consultancy mindset, which you naturally start with, is you go time for money. Oh, can I charge that?
And this is like on an hourly rate.
On an hourly rate, can I do that? And then what can I add in? And then we'll go, I would add, me and my business guy would add that in, or you get 2 of us. So you kind of play around with like numbers and go, but actually, how can I get it to £3,000 a month? Like, what's the way to get it to £3,000 a month? Or, okay, well, we can do a strategy session, and we can do we can do an initial assessment on the company. Charge 2.5 from that, and then you go from the 2.5, you charge them into a strategy day, or strategy day we can take them to 5, and then from 5 they've already invested 7.5. When you go, okay, monthly retainer where we're going to really work with you to grow and scale it is £3,000 a month. They've kind of gone through the incremental buying psychology, and we've got taken them down, so it's going to be rather than up. Yeah. In their pricing, they go, oh, I've seen so much value by the steps that we've got to now. Actually, we're gonna spend the £30,000 for the year, or 35, 40 grand for the year, because we've already seen the value. So we created a mechanism to create more value at each part of the initial journey to then take them on a longer term. But that took, again, going like that was 5 years ago we started that. Before that, I had to really just kind of go, figure it out, look at other people and go, right, where do I feel like, and experience is a lot. I think once you've reached a point in coaching where you've on the 10,000 hour rule and you really know where you add the value, that's when I think you can land the real pricing element. But I think the early phases of someone setting up a coaching business, it can't be about the monetary element. It's got to be about the value that you create and learning that actually my pricing, it's not all about making the money and the pricing, it's about the value when you start out. Even when you continue, I think you have to continue on the value piece.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree. It has to lead the way. What is the value in the outcome you're providing, as opposed to how much. Yeah, and I always say it, no one wants to invest in an hour of anyone's time. They don't want that or need that. What they want is an outcome. Can you help provide an outcome? And then over time, I think you figure out the value of that outcome. And again, that has different values for different people.
And now where it is, I've got a very clear sort of pricing structure that works for my clients. Doesn't work for everyone, which again is absolutely fine. And that's on a one-to-one basis. And I know that I'm typically working with a CEO of a high growth business, or the founder of a high growth business, where they're really looking to kick that business on, but they're lonely as fuck. Right, they're sitting there and they got no one to talk to, and they're thinking, how am I going to navigate this on my own? I don't want to download it on my family, I don't want to download it on my wife, but I need someone else to talk to that can help me on this journey, and a sidekick, a wingman, or whatever you call it. And that's where Danny Wicks comes in, and I'm that wingman, and that's where they pay for that, is you've got me by your side. And
I think what's interesting about that, and I found this, that it's lonely at the top, which is a great saying, but that filters all the way through. I mean, we're talking businesses now, but I think that filters all the way through, because everyone gets stuck at every level. Let's just say first tier of management, they're also really lonely because they can't go up the chain and express vulnerability or things they need to work on. They don't want to go down the chain because then they look like they're showing weakness, so they get stuck. And then you go up to management 2, and then you go up to the big C-suite and CEO. So everyone's lonely.
They're all lonely
the whole way up the chain.
They're all lonely, and they all want some form of freedom as well. So the founder wants to create this kind of freedom. What I find is, if anyone's kind of building a coaching business, if you start on the one-to-one side, the natural thing what people do is go one-to-one. How do I go to group coaching? Right, that's the kind of what the world says. How can I get to group? What I did is I went one-to-one with the founder, and I thought, right, that really works. What then I unearthed was, as I was working with the founder, there was I realised they don't know how to chair meetings. I realised that actually their leadership team, or their people they've hired, they haven't got the skill set themselves. So I went, what I'm going to do is, how can I leverage that client more, not to upsell to them, but actually give them more value. So I then said, okay, why don't I chair your leadership team meetings and advise you? Because what I can do then is, if I chair your leadership team meeting, I can then assess the people in the room, and I can then coach you in the room of a business as usual operating management meeting of the things that you're not doing. So it becomes a coaching session, but they don't think it's a coaching session.
It's like,
but I'm facilitating the group environment. So then you add that on, and then you say, well, I'll add that on. Why don't I then have a coaching session with them as a leadership team? And then so what I did is, I built the coaching business from one-to-one into how can I do more with existing clients. And then that became, do you know what? I'm going to hive that one off as a particular service. So one of them now becomes a non-exec advisory role, where I'm just chairing the leadership team meetings, and then I have a one-to-one coaching session with the founder.
Brilliant. And this is that colliding with all
and
these opportunities.
I couldn't have worked that out until I had kind of gone and just said, you know what, I'm going to delay the gratification, and I'm just going to work one-to-one. And after 2 years, that was 2 years into this business now, did I come up with the non-exec piece, and then the stuff that's coming in the future.
And are you doing this in person, online, bit of both?
Bit of both. I have some. So if I'm running a leadership team meeting, apart from a client I've got in Belfast, I will typically go to their office and run it at their office, or they'll come to mine. So it's always, typically they come to mine. I've got a little boardroom. I host it there. Get them out the office for the day. Typically runs for a 3-hour session window I allow, and they come to me one-to-one. I have 2 clients that come to me face-to-face one-to-one, but they have an option to Zoom, and then I have clients that are all over the world, which are on Zoom, and that's pretty much how I do it. I will always try and get people to me for the initial meetings, because that's where you build the chemistry and the connection and energy.
I do exactly the same. There's a mixture of in-person and Zoom, although I'm leaning more and more towards in-person for the same reason. I'm sort of filtering out the opportunities to say, actually, do you know what, I think I only want to do this if we can do it in person. If we can't, no worries. There's lots of other coaches that can do it.
I think when you've got people that Like the thing is, everyone's really really busy.
Yeah.
But I think it's when people really invest in it, that's when they're willing to come and drive out and meet you face to face, because that is where like the magic happens in the room, and you can't predict where it's going to go. It's very difficult on Zoom to do some of the things that you can just create in person.
Yeah,
like, I get on like you've got the blackboard here. I get on the whiteboard. Next thing you know, we're spinning out ideas and things that happen. It's like, wow, that wouldn't happen necessarily. I'll use an iPad on Zoom, but it won't happen as much as in person.
Yeah, and then given all of your experience now as a really successful coach, would you have any advice for anyone listening to this? The whole different raft of the coaching journey that they might be on, more so on the sort of the business side as much as anything, because I think that's the bit that most coaches find the most difficult bit. They're great at the coaching skills, they love that bit, but it's the business and marketing bit.
The best coaches aren't necessarily the biggest ones on social media.
Great truth, yeah.
Right, the best business advisory coaches or business coaches to business are not knocking what anyone does, isn't always the right step for you in that space. I think it's about earning the right, really going back to standard business principles. Practice, become a practitioner. Like for me, is practitioner first, everything else second. Like treat it like whether you're a psychologist or whether you're a therapist, it's like you got to be a practitioner. Be the practitioner, and then build the results will come, and the clients will come through one. It's the compound. 1 turns to 2, 2 turns to 3, 3 turns to 4, and just double down on your one-to-one clients and learn. Get around people, be around other people that are in the environment like yourself and what you do, because ethics is huge for me. Ethics in coaching, in terms of practice, is absolutely everything for me. And I think that there's many people that short circuit some of the ethics to gain clients or bring businesses in, whereas I'm all about like do it the right way, build it the right way, and everything else just comes off the back of it.
Brilliant. And there's 2 sayings that spring to mind. When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
And then I always like to say, when the coach is ready, the clients appear.
Yeah.
And I think there's a truth in that, and that's what you meant by like learning the craft, by colliding, getting out there and coaching as much as you can. And that's easier said than done, clearly, but being courageous enough to do that, and then honing that skill as well as understanding the marketing business behind it. And then I think you're in a brilliant position to slowly but surely build potentially a wonderful business that you can love.
You can love it, and it's phenomenal. There's nothing better than helping other people. It just is the best thing ever. But don't try and skip the process. You can't skip the process.
Yeah, no one can. And anyone that promises that you can skip the process, I think run a million miles from people that hopefully I'm trying to get that across, that come and learn and develop and grow and be part of this process long term. Long term.
I'm still learning. Like, I'm still learning. I'm still evolving myself, and it's like it's a forever process. It's just you might be one chapter ahead in the book than someone else is, but the pitfalls that you and I have gone through and everyone else is like, accept the pitfalls. It's going to be tough. It's going to be lonely. It is what it is. But actually, like, when you do land on it, you'll know you land on it. Like, you can't force land it. Just, it'll come. Sit with it.
Yeah, and I feel so grateful, 1, that you're here, and 2, when I woke up this morning, it's a beautiful day, just walked down to the coffee shop and thought, this is what I do. I get to invite people like you over to my home. We have this brilliant conversation and record it. And this is us sort of doing broader coaching and being part of the... I mean, how lucky is that when you think to all those careers in the world that people are stuck in offices, grinding it out like I was at one point in my life. And here I am on a couch having a brilliant conversation with someone like yourself. How lucky are we?
It's brilliant, honestly, and I'm grateful for being here. When you said about coming out, I'm like, one, everything you've done in the alcohol-free space, but just the bounce off someone is the energy is great. Yeah, love it.
Danny, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure.
That's our first. We've done it.
Brilliant.
It's one of them, isn't it?
Top man, thank
you.
You.
Did it. I think everything worked. This is the moment when we end it, and I go over there and check that computer.
I can't redo it, can we? Can't do it. Brilliant.
Danny, you've been brilliant. Top man.
Thank you. Cheers, Andy. Good.
Thank you for joining me. That was an impactful conversation with the brilliant Danny Wicks. Don't forget, if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe, tell your friends about these videos, share widely, and visit coachbusiness.school if you want to come and train with me, whether you want to get accredited as a coach or you're already a coach and want to learn the skills of marketing and business. You can check out the show notes below, and I will see you soon. Until then, keep coaching. Let's do this.